Welcome back to another edition of Hammer Away on its own channel. We got some things going today. It's good to have you guys here, everybody who's joining today. And we are right here at 3:30. So what do you think about that? First things first, just pulled this out of the fridge because I needed to get rid of that too. Yeah. So there we go. We're going to be using our flick of the switch glass today. Little AC/DC action there. These were great, man. They were selling all kinds of these collections at Target years ago. Then from up in the Chicago area, north of there, somewhere around Evanston area and Skokie, is the Sketchbook Brewery. And we're having a lapwing today. This is really, really good. It's a Scotch ale, so I love that. If I could read all of this real quick here, this small print, I would do that for you. Well, I'm not going to do that today. Let's get that cracked open there, and let's get it poured. What she deserves to be in the glass, not in the can any longer. That's lovely stuff. I'll have to fill some more of that later. You know, speaking of things in a glass and how beautiful they're, look at that. That's So what we're doing today is we have a quick anecdote from, we're going to start the Radio Daze stories is today. Things that happened in 1986 when I was working on the radio, starting like in March. I did it for 9 months until I got fired. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So anyway, or another time, shall we say? This is the first one. So anyway, but yeah, I worked there starting in like March, and I worked through November. But then I was there, it was during school time, when I was in college, but it wasn't a college station. It served the tri-state area. So lots of cool things happened while I was there. Some not so cool, but still lessons learned. And, I still use it, stories from there, maybe not with the same verbiage that I may give you this one today, but all the same, they happened. And there were life lessons, you know, things that you learn, and everything. So it was kind of a dream of mine to work on the radio. And when the opportunity arose, it was because some other students from the college had also worked there. So I was like, "Oh, dude, you're working there," you know. And maybe I'd listen to some. I'm like, "Woo, I can do that. I can do maybe better than that, or whatever," you know. It's like I say, nobody's better than anybody else, but some people are more proficient at certain things, but it doesn't make them better. It just makes them more proficient in something, right? So that's how we have to remember it, because there's too many people out there thinking they're too better than everybody else, and they are not. So, cheers, eh? Let's get this thing started right. Oh man. Lapwing Scottish ale. That's great. Scotch ale. Shall I say Scotch ale? Yeah. Oh my God. That's so good. So good. All right. So shall we, let me get to my chat here too. I want to see who all is here with us. Crimson Cross is back. Thank you very much. Good to see you. And Blake, what's up? It's with Shaking Cap. So it's great to see you. Yeah, ROCKIT, man. This is awesome. And so anyway, many things happened, but this one in particular is one of my biggest life lessons in dealing with this stuff at work, right? I mean, you could do it to whatever you got going on, but for me, it's been a huge lesson for work because it taught me a lot. it may not have been the greatest way to have experienced this story, but everything happens for a reason and everything happens when it should. So, sometimes you can include how it should. But in this case, we're calling this too much information, right? So I'm going to try to give each one of these stories from Radio Daze. I'm going to try to give them a name that's music, right? So too much information being from the Police, um, and from the Ghost in the Machine album, right? So, so this one dealt with me wanting to do this. So, a band, I'd get ready to play a band, and it was top 40 radio. Let me just start there. It was top 40 radio. So, um, we went straight off of radio and records, and something had to have gotten to a certain point on the chart before we would play it. And this is back in the 45 days. Um, Next show that I do this, I'll get out my 45s, and I probably have a 45 or two from that time frame, because there were some things that did not make the chart, that probably could have, should have, whatever, um, and everything. So I have to make sure I start a log, or else I won't remember everything, because right now I'm thinking about something that happened. But there's some good, interesting stories. So anyway, in this case, it was because I liked to share information about the bands that I was playing and the music that I was playing. Just like here, I get to share with you some information. If it's something that I hope this is some information that you like, and you'll so you'll subscribe and you'll want to hear more, and uh, be in support of that. Um, so anyway, I started working at this top 40 station. We had numbers, 45s, a whole bin of 45s. We had 2 turntables, an old board, and I learned to use that, and that was fun. It was great working at the radio. It's like a dream come true, and there was a window right in front of me where we could see the weather, and, every hour at quarter after, I would do the weather and these kind of things. That is an important thing to remember for a future story. So, in this instance, I remember probably talking about Journey one time, right? And just mentioning something about Journey at the time, because in 1986, you remember Ross Valerie had been let go, Steve Smith was gone, and they had their new drummer, which I'm blanking on his name because I don't know if I've ever really known it. But Randy Jackson, who went on to do American Idol, was the bass player at the time. And they had put out Raised on Radio, and the 2 songs that I was playing on the radio were, Girl Can't Help It, but Be Good to Yourself was the one prior to that. That was the first single. Then they brought out Girl Can't Help It. Great songs. Both of them were great songs. I was really excited to play them both. But I probably gave a little bit of history on it, and probably gave a little history on a couple of other things. Well, the next thing I know, I get a call from my head DJ, and he calls me in to talk to him in the office. So I sit down in the chair and I'm like, holy crap, because you hate that. If there's one thing, you probably all share this with me, those of you who like work in an office, right? And maybe your cubes, or I worked in publishing for a while. So across the room, hey, Stu, could you come in my office? I need to talk to you. Okay. So you get this horrible walk to their office. You're like, could you just like call me and say, hey, I want to talk to you about this ad, or be specific what you want to talk about, so that I'm not freaking out as I'm walking across a room to your office. Sometimes people do it on purpose, but it's not, it's just not cool. Just tell me what you want to talk about somehow, you know, so I'm not concerned. And everybody's not like, ooh. So I get into his office, I sit down, shut the door, and he sits down and he goes, so, all that stuff that you talk about with the bands and things before you play a song? I was like, yeah. And he goes, people don't give a shit about that. I'm like, so in my head, I'm kind of in shock, but in my head, I'm just sitting there going, wow, really? This is where we are. This is how we get started. People don't give a shit. So I'm like, okay. So in my head, I'm not happy, probably seething a bit. Wouldn't you? I mean, this reminds me too. I needed to have changed. Although this shirt is so cool. I love this shirt. So it's very rock and roll. We'll live with that today. But I flipped out. I'm like, whoa. But it also scared me because I was like, am I going to lose my job because of this or what? So I said, okay, I suppose. I can't even remember. I was just in shock. I can't even remember what I said. If I said anything, but at the end of it, probably said, okay. But he goes, you need to just talk less and you need to play the music because people don't give a shit. So I was like, okay. So at that point, I was like, fine. I'll tell you what, people don't give a shit. I'm not going to say shit is what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say a word. I will just get on the air and I'll do what I have to do. I'll read my PSAs, which are public service announcements. I'll read those. I'll read the weather and I'll play my carts and that's it. PJ, what's up? PJ. Hopefully we'll see you later, man. Fortunately, oh, you're silly, man. Oh my gosh. So, um, I walked out of the office. I thinking, fine. You don't think people want to hear it? I mean, that's your opinion. So I went in and with the express attitude that, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'll just, like I said, just do what I need to do. So I went in that Saturday, that weekend, and I just said, I just did my stuff. And we would have contests too, where we gave away T-shirts for the radio station and stuff like that for the whatever caller. So I did all that. I did my job, and I did it really well. I did it really well, and I got to the end, and I thought, and I would close the station would shut down at 2 a.m. So I worked until 2 a.m. and then I shut it down, and I'm like, wow, that that was a killer show. I love that show because I didn't worry about what I was going to say. I didn't concern myself with any information that I wouldn't maybe retain at the moment, and it was a tight show. Played tons of music. So I was like, interesting. So I hadn't really thought about it. I did what he asked, but then I was like, cool. So that's it. I came in on Monday morning and I asked if I could come in and talk to him real quick and sat down with him. And I said, hey, I want to thank you for mentioning that about my show. I went in Saturday and I had my best show yet. It was my favorite show so far that I've done. So, you can't, you have to take that moment and you have to think about it, but you don't have to spit it back at anybody, right? We have to remember that. If somebody's got a critique of something that we're doing, if it's for the right reasons, and I understood that his reasons behind it, we're a top 40 station. We need to make money and we don't need a bunch of talky talk telling us about stuff that most of the people listening to our station weren't going to retain. So I understood that. Did I do it for that reason on that Saturday night? No, that's not why I did it. I did it because I was pissed, but it turned out that I understood why it was good, and I understood that I did a great show, and I understood why I enjoyed it. And ultimately, I realized that it was a better thing to do to put all that energy, not back at him in his office, but to put all that energy into my show. And and it killed, and it was great. And did it make him feel good that I came back and said, "Hey, thanks"? Maybe it helped him. Maybe he realized, "Hey, wow, this guy's mature enough to take the criticism, and I know I'm an ass about it, but I wanted to tell him, and that's the way it was." So it was a great experience. I use that lesson now. I used it telling my kids that lesson when they dealt with work, but I also tell it to my students when I'm talking to them at school. So it was very helpful. It was very helpful. Let me know of a tough situation you've had at work. I've done all kinds of different things. I've had many different jobs over the years, and had difficult people throughout. It's just the way it is. I even worked on my own for a while at home, and it was like an adult daycare sometimes. The crazy things that happened. But hey, that's it. That's my number one story on Radio Daze. Let's get back to some stuff. I'm gonna try to do this. What I'm gonna work on is doing some shows in between shows. Okay, so there'll be news reports. But here's a quick follow up. I wanted to show you this. This is the Dark Shadows box set that I bought at Menards. I told you about the Dan Curtis movie that I had. Well, this is what I got, and it includes like the best of, like it's got Vampire's Curse, and it's got fan favorites. It's got Haunting of Collinwood, that storyline, and then it has the best of Quentin, who was the werewolf. Okay, he's written a book too about his days there. The best of Barnabas and the best of Angelique. Barnabas was created in his dark side was created by Angelique, who was a witch, and she's the one that kind of cursed him into it. So that is it's fun. It's nice just to have a little collection like this, because the other one is huge, and I'm never ever gonna watch it just because it's brutal. Now, something else I want to get into are some of the happenings. Like yesterday was not only the release of Run DMC and Aerosmith's collaboration with Walk This Way, which will find its way into Radio Daze. Oh, that one's coming. That's another one like today was a little rough, but still worth it. Still worth it. But also I want to go through some birthdays and things like that. So let me throw down on that a little bit. I do want to check out this article. There was an article by that was an interview with Alice Cooper, where he was talking about AI and people using AI. And he said, the only person I think that should be able to use AI is Paul McCartney. And I'm sure he would have felt the same about John Lennon had he still been alive. But we have some birthdays that were on 9/25. Not sure about today yet, so we can look those up. But Richie Edwards, who's the bass player for The Darkness, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, who played with Guns N' Roses from 06 to 14. His nickname evidently came from when his wife was taking her veterinary exams. It was one of the bacterial, like a fungus issue. Will Smith's birthday was the 25th. Steve McKay, who is the tenor sax player who played with the Stooges, Violent Femmes, Snakefinger, Commander Cody, and others. Now, here's my other favorite from 2 days ago on the 25th is John Fiddler, who the only thing that they mentioned about him was Medicine Head, but he was in Box of Frogs. But long before that, he was in my favorite band, one of my favorite bands, British Lions, not to be confused with British Lion that Steve Harris is getting ready to tour with again and do some shows. But this is British Lions, which is when Mott the Hoople shortened their name to Mott, and then soon after that, Ian Hunter left, Mick Ronson left, and the rest of the guys got together with John Fiddler and made British Lions. And we do one of their songs in our band. And actually, I was vindicated on having a track from them, and especially the one that I had, One More Chance to Run, was on my set list or my playlist for a long, long time. I should say my song list for other bands. And then finally I did it in this new band. And guess who else had just done it? Joe Elliott did it with the Down and Outs. If you haven't checked out Joe Elliott and the Down and Outs, do it. They do a great live album. For a while, it was the live album, which was 2 CDs and a DVD, which were $7 on Amazon. I don't think it's that cheap anymore, but it's so worth it. They also cover Funeral for a Friend and Love Lies Bleeding on there as well. But One More Chance to Run by British Lions is on there too. But yeah, John Fiddler, Jerry Penrod, who is the bass player for Iron Butterfly, Oni McIntyre from Average White Band, and I didn't realize that was a Scottish band. They were from Scotland. Then yesterday, Brian Ferry from Roxy Music, Taran Porter from the Doobie Brothers, Olivia Newton-John, and Cesar Rosas, who's the singer and guitarist for Los Lobos. We can check out today too as well and find out. Wayward Sons are getting ready to go back on tour. Great Affairs is one of my favorite bands. The gentleman who fronts that band, Denny Smith, was on the show before. They're going to be back on the show coming up soon, and we're going to be talking about their new album, Sleepwalker. So it's getting ready to come out. They were just recently out in Vegas, and he's regularly down in Nashville. So yeah, some cool birthdays and such. I had a couple other notes here. Let me double check and see what I had. I know this is a little bit. So the Beatles released Abbey Road yesterday in 1969. Also, Robert Palmer passed away on yesterday's date, back in 2003. That was unfortunate due to a heart attack in Paris, France. And in 1995, AC/DC released Ball Breaker. That one freaked me out, which is the 12th release from AC/DC, which the only other thing that I really wanted to know was how many was that with Brian Johnson. That's what else I need to know, because this was number 3 with Brian Johnson. And it's when they had stopped working with Mutt Lange. They worked with Mutt Lange on the Back in Black album. Of course, before that, I almost said Hellbent for Leather, Highway to Hell, then Back in Black, then Let There Be Rock. Let There Be Rock. Wow. You can tell it's the end of the day. For Those About to Rock, it's my favorite AC/DC tune. I really love that song, For Those About to Rock. So anyway, yeah, I need another drink. Maybe that's the problem. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Of course, my phone starts to ring. What is this? Let's see what we got in our chat. AI Paul McCartney sounds horrid. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Funny thing, growing up where here between elementary school and middle school, I made a radio station control board, at least what I thought it would look like, from lots of wood pieces, metal items, and nails. Well, that's cool, man. Wow, I don't know if I ever thought to do something like that. Steve Harris, British Lion, will be his new Iron Maiden. Maybe, don't know. No, it won't be. No, it's okay for me. I'd be eager to know what other people think of it. But for me, no, it's nowhere near as good. And I look forward to hearing anything else by them, but the one album really didn't hook me. You played radio DJ while you did the yeah, it was fun to do that. I loved picking up the album by Slade, Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply, had been out, and it was Run Runaway was one of the songs that we had to play, and I loved it. It was a 4. There were different numbers for different types of music, as far as their rhythm is concerned. So their beats per minute was all in different ones. So we had 12s and 4s, 2s. Wow. Trying to remember all the different numbers. 9s. Because I don't think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It wasn't like that. It could have been, but I'm just saying it could have been. If they would have done it differently, it could have been that way, but it wasn't like that. Here's our unofficial sponsor real quick. I want to just throw this out there. When I say that, it just means that they have no idea I'm going to talk about them. Here in St. Louis downtown, on Park Avenue. How about that? Fancy schmancy. On Park Avenue, downtown St. Louis, is Frenchtown Records. Vinyl, CDs, tapes, and vintage home audio. They do have vintage home audio. Now, they have vintage home audio, but I'll tell you who has even tons of it. I mean, they have a lot more. Let's just put it that way. Is the Record Exchange, which is down on Hampton. So, so you can pop into either of those. If you're in the St. Louis area, be sure and go to both. They're both very worthy stores. Frenchtown Records is a little smaller store, so it's a little more intimate. He has some cool merchandise in there too, though. I purchased a Power Slave hoodie from down there. Oddly enough, he had just the right size for me. And again, that's Frenchtown Records. And I got this flyer from my friend. He got it for me because he knows I love to do my shopping, and it's got 10% off. Plus you get a free beer. Got to be 21 or older. But yeah, it's cool. There's a couple of places like that here in St. Louis. So if you're traveling into St. Louis, be sure and check out G&W Meats. How about that for another unofficial sponsor? G&W Meats. You can go down there. They supply the brats to Grant's Farm and the meats to Gus's Pretzel to put into their pretzels when they have the brats in a pretzel or a salsiccia in a pretzel. So make sure you check those places out, because while you're shopping at G&W Meats, they'll hand you a beer since they work with the places that Anheuser-Busch has. So, all right. So check those out. Now, another place I want to tell you about is I stopped in. I have a matchbook. That's pretty much their business card. This matchbook, Penny Lane. It is in Springfield, Illinois. I stopped there while on my way home. There's their phone number, so you can check that out. Penny Lane. They have tons of music, movie, anime, tons of stuff, posters, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff. They have an upper area. I didn't even get to the upper area because I was just hustling through there. But yeah, check them out. Penny Lane. T-shirts, posters, incense, body jewelry, tapestries, beaded curtains. All right, so there's their times: Monday through Saturday, 10 to 9, and Sunday, 11 to 6. So it's a neat place. My buddy told me about it, so I decided to go ahead and pop in there. So on my way through, I did that. The other thing I wanted to show you too was when I was in my hometown. In fact, this kind of ties in with Denny the other day. Denny Smith from The Great Affairs. He and I were messaging back and forth, and he was surprised. They're getting ready to release Sleepwalker, and he was already out of CDs. He wasn't certain how those were going to be selling anymore, but the vinyl is available as well. But he's already getting ready to get the next set of CDs for the album for distribution. So I told him, I said, no, man, I just went to Walmart and looked through their vinyl, and they had some cool stuff, but they also had CDs. And I told him, I said, I bought like 8 CDs, which as I looked at it, it was 7 titles, but there's more than 8 CDs. And this is why. So I'm going to be covering these. I'm going to deep dive into these, into some of these, and you'll understand why. But I'll get started with this. It was a big Metallica pickup. All right. So I looked down there and they had the Master of Puppets remaster in the digipack. Okay, so I picked that up. $5. $5, brand new. I had to unwrap it. And Injustice for All. I saw that tour. It was an amazing tour. This is really cool. I love these, and then you have the pull out with that, and then you have the booklet that comes out, and the booklet is basically straight off of the CD almost. It's got the pictures on the back with all the songs. Great record. This was a great album. It's really, really cool. So yeah, so I picked those up, both of those for $5 a piece. Then this was cheaper than it is on Amazon at Walmart, so I bought 72 Seasons. So I love this record. The only other one that I really, really want to get into or get a copy of is Death Magnetic. I enjoyed it. When I was making, the real rockers of Metallica, I found more off of Death Magnetic itself than I did off of any of those albums in between. It was really sad. I just wasn't a fan of that time frame. I think the 90s messed up a lot of bands as much as disco messed up a bunch of my favorite bands back in the day, right? We're talking about Kiss, the Kinks, Sweet, Queen. Don't get me wrong, these are all bands that had big hits at the time, but it just, So let me check out a couple of things here in the chat real quick, but I do want to finish through these because there's a few things left here. PJ, did any of y'all happen to go to the concert at the Checker Dome in St. Louis for Rush Presto Tour? Okay. Presto, no. I'm still trying to remember if I ever saw a concert at the Checker Dome. I was supposed to see Aerosmith there. I had a friend. Well, you may go, well, that's no friend. But I had a friend of mine for whom I was writing at the time, and it was for the Pump album. And he goes, man, I got an extra ticket for the show if you want to come down. I drove all the way down there, parked my car, walked all the way to the Checker Dome from down the road. And he didn't have a ticket for me. So there. So not fond memories of that. Stu, did you ever listen to Kick Tracy? No. With their No Rules album, which I will now, which they covered Mrs. Robinson, and you love that version. Wow. Lead singer Stephen Shareau was trying out for Motley Crue back in 92. Yeah, how about that? And that's when it went to Karabi, or was that? Yeah, that's when it went to Karabi, right? Rush Presto, Hand Over Fist. One of your favorite tracks, Creepy Onion. Oh, cool. Hello, Creepy Onion. How are you? Thanks for keeping our way, man. I'm glad to see you. Be sure to like and subscribe. Again, like I say, just throw down. And I'm going to have to check that out. Presto is an album I do believe I have on CD back there, but I kind of, with Power Windows, I just kind of lost it a little bit. I didn't really get back into them until Counterparts. And when you mentioned the Checker Dome with Presto, I almost flipped out, but I do have, do I dare mention it? I do have something that, how about if I show you that next week? We'll talk about it next week. But I had a friend of mine who worked down there. He did security down at the Checker Dome. And they, oddly enough, they busted somebody down there. So I'll show you what I'm talking about later. So yeah, so I'm gonna check that out. Hand Over Fist. I had the giant inflatable rabbits. Sweet. Lemon Drops did a good cover of Mrs. Robinson. Wow, really? So it was a long time before I ever watched The Graduate, right? I didn't see it for I mean, decades. I mean, I can't say that it was a decade ago, but it's been within the last 20 years that I finally watched that movie. And boy, did they ever use that song in that movie. I thought I was pissed because they put Led Zeppelin in Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok twice. But wow, oof, Mrs. Robinson is all over that movie. Dick Tracy. What kind of glam band is that? Ooh, we got one that Blake doesn't know. Oh, yeah. Typos. Don't even worry about those typos. Lemon. Did you have it? Oh, lemon heads, lemon drops. I get you right. Right. Okay. That is a worthwhile typo. I get it. I get fixing that one. So, so I'll have to write those down because I have to check that out. But these are the ones I'm going to deep dive into because I found out there was a lot of these. So, let's see here. I'm trying to remember in the order that I picked them up. I think it went like this. Okay, so I'm a Maiden fan, right? Huge Maiden fan. Hello, Iron Maiden. So I've seen them multiple times, not as many times as everybody else, who goes a lot. But I looked down there, and the first thing I saw right in the front was this. It's a 3 CD set, and these are put together. You know what? I'm going to pull this thing over and be the old man, if you don't mind, for just a second. So these are released by who does this? They're made in Spain. God, is there a name on here or anything? I'm looking on the back, and there's like Music Brokers. They're out of Italy. I do know that. These were put out in 2016, and by now you're like, just show me what you're talking about. So what I'm talking about is this, the many faces of Iron Maiden. So I went to Walmart and I found this. This has 3 CDs in it, right? It's a journey through the inner world of Iron Maiden. All right. So the many faces of Iron Maiden. But I have to rewrite the liner notes. There is no freaking way I'm reading these liner notes to you. They're horrible. If I actually had the idea that maybe they were done with AI because they are poorly written, and not in a way like maybe they were interpreted from Japanese stuff. It's not like that. So then I look a little further down there and I find the many faces of Def Leppard. I really liked this cover. This is a really bitchin' cover. I thought that was cool. And each one of these has 3 CDs. They have a little bit something different, but these liner notes are frigging horrible. All right. And there you go. So I'm going to go through these liner notes. I'm going to do my own edits because I like to write. So I'm a writer. I've done articles and things like that through the years. And then I'm going to make some videos of them and I'll just put them in the show and you can just watch the video and then we'll come back and do live chat and stuff like that. So here is the Metallica one that I found. Journey through the inner world of Metallica. Okay, there's the back. So each one, as I said, has 3 CDs in it. Some have more liner notes than others. Some are just here and here. All right. And then they have artwork there and there. Now, here's my other big problem. Take a look at this. Not only am I a writer, but I'm also a graphic designer. And look at this. This just gets on my nerves. So, okay. So I took out the wrong CD. Okay. That one doesn't have it. But look at this. They run it right through here. Okay. I don't know if somebody didn't know they were going to do a digipack style, but you should have moved this down here or stacked it. Stack one down one side and stack the other down the other side. Because when you get to this, you can't read it. So if I'm trying to find details about something in here, yeah. So it was just a pain in the butt. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, that's that. That's just my graphic designer coming out. Oh my God, I'm so much better. No. Anyway, but they should have thought about that. And finally, the last one I bumped into there was Motley Crue. The Many Faces of Motley Crue. All right. So this one has a lot. I think this one has a lot of liner notes. So you have these, and then you got some more there. And again, let's take a look here. It's so silly how they lay these out. Ooh, that's kind of cool. They have a nice piece of artwork in the middle. See, that's what you do. You just put stuff you don't have to worry about reading right in the middle. But otherwise, you got to think about those digipack things because you can't read spit behind this thing. And on this one, maybe it's not such pertinent information. Maybe not. I don't know. But all the same, it is what it is, right? So I'm going to deep dive into those, and I will give you guys a report on those. But the cool thing is, too, is there's a lot of these. There's one about Elvis. There's one with, you know what? Let me see if I can find it on my computer. I did it as the TMFO. So there's one for AC/DC. There's one for B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Judas Priest, Queen, Santana, the Rolling Stones, and Van Halen. Those are the ones that I found that are like available on Amazon. Now, the ones that I got at Walmart cost me $7. Every one of those, $7 a piece for a 3 CD set. And like I say, I'll deep dive into those for you guys. But on Amazon, it ranges. So some of them are like $7, but like the Iron Maiden one is almost $20, I think. So it's kind of an interesting pickup, but it was a great time. I had a great time stopping in, getting some things at Walmart, and finding these CDs. And do people buy CDs anymore? Sure they do. Yeah. What do we have here? Oh, look at that. Still have my original CDs of Kick Tracy. Yeah, just, back in the day, the Duff parts, and I do need to read this. My whole problem with Graduate over the last 50 years is that Mrs. Robinson wasn't hot. Not like on the Summer of 42, right? Have you ever checked that movie out? Summer of 42. I took, you know what? I took the quote from that and I wrote it down. Let me find it if I can. I don't know if I can or not. But the quote that the young guy does in that movie is amazing. Gosh, you'd almost think, because there's a we guys, when we're growing up, and women, and just a thing. So I don't know, I had it in here. I'll see if I can find it and I'll share it with you later. But it's an amazing line. It talked about like no other time in his life had somebody had such an effect, and basically he went through the myriad of thoughts about what she meant to him and the things that she brought out in him. Anyway, all right. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And I'll get back to you because it is very poetic, and I'm a romantic. That's the way it goes. Let's see. Another thing too. For those of you in Canada, there is an old show, and I can't remember the guy. I'll have to figure out what it is tonight. But he had what my good friend Papa Pete calls the tickle trunk. That's what this guy had. That's part of his show. I think I discovered Kick Tracy on Headbangers Ball. I'll share that with you guys next time. I met up with why can't I say his name right off the top of my head now? Headbangers Ball. But anyway, bumped into him at the Rockin' Pod last year, and yeah, got the T-shirt and everything. Let's see. Came here wearing the wrong name. Oh, came here wearing the wrong name. Let me see what we got here. Much better. There. Hey, JW. There you go. Okay, I got it. Oh man, that is exactly where I saw my first Kick Tracy is Headbangers. Yeah. Several of these. A lot of these songs, especially on the Def Leppard version, is bad. You have you have several of those. These songs, especially on the Def Leppard version, is bad. Wow, that's too bad. I have the. Oh, you have that. Wow, how long have you had that, Blake? I didn't know you had that. So we'll still do the deep dive because we got, like JW mentions, I got to make sure that, yeah, I'll see what I have. But fortunately, I got them all for $7, so it's okay. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's something that I can, pass along. So anyway, the weird tickle trunk, I just said something about that. So I purchased this. It's an Igloo, and I told you I'm an Iron Maiden fan. So it's an Igloo cooler, an Iron Maiden cooler. Gotta love it. All right. It's really cool. And I like how they have like the Benjamin Brieg artwork on here. And a lot of this is a lot of the new stuff, but it's got the classic old stuff. It's got Number the Beast, and it's got Power Slave, Peace of Mind. Is that Peace of Mind over there? Yeah. Peace of Mind over here. So it's cool. And Live After Death. So it's a lot of the classic stuff and all the new stuff over here too. So it's really cool. So in there is some stuff. So I'll show you. If you open it up with the button, you'll see I got stuff in there. So we'll be going through that. But in the meantime, I have an unboxing over here. Now, if you haven't been to Go Game Go, you can visit us tonight. We're going to be doing the show at 7:00, and we'll be talking some Star Trek. There's Captain Kirk from the alternate dimension, right? Or is this just the sassy one where he's got the cool outfit on from the original series? So remember how weird that was on Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2, when Khan says, "I never forget the face." Well, and he'd never met Chekhov before. Chekhov wasn't in the show yet. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So should we do 1 or 2 unboxings? Let me double check what we got going on here in the chat while I'm doing that. Headbangers Ball was that was such a great show. There's something else below this here. Yeah, I do too. I miss the days of just fricking MTV, right? I mean, that's kind of the beauty of YouTube. You can make your own playlist if you want and just play all the same videos, Digipack. Especially the slipcases are amazing for that. Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, yes. I prefer it because you're not worried about it breaking or, whatever. But on the other hand, you concern yourself with it getting beat up because it's just a whole, like my Iron Maiden one has a little bit of a crease down this side already. So, and it wasn't because of me. It was like that when I opened up. So let's do 2 things because I've got 2 things outside of the cooler. So let's see what we have first. Big or little? Look at this. Look at that. I just was talking to my students about Sesame Street. Look, big or little? We'll do the big, little, bit, little, big, little. All right, we'll do the little. You forced my hand. I'm looking forward to downloading. I've got to get that Bloody Wolf video downloaded so we can check it out, and I can show you the Toto moment. Look at this. The Iron Maiden continues. Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind kind of always reminds me of my grandpa, because we went to the stereo shop to pick up, because I'd done some work for him at his house. So he bought me a KD44R turntable. It was a Kenwood, and he bought that for me at a record shop in Peoria, Illinois. And the radio station was doing a broadcast from there that day, and they had some records there, and they're like, pick something out. And so I went over, and I already had a copy of it. And again, the Mava case, I don't know where the vinyl went, but I picked up another copy of this Peace of Mind album because I'm like, oh, they had Peace of Mind. I'm just going to take it. Do I have it already? Yes. Do I need it again? Probably not. But thank God I did, because that's the one that left. And the aliens left me with my original copy that I purchased. All right, let's see what we got in here. Oh, I see the words Iron Maiden again. What all's in here? Just that? Are you serious? They sent this huge box, and it's got an Iron Maiden Funko Pop in it. I tell you what. That says I care, I guess. Or I like big boxes. And I cannot lie. This is a Somewhere in Time. Eddie. How about that? Saw that tour, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about my relationship with Iron Maiden throughout the years. It's been a great thing. I'll tell you what. Great experiences with Iron Maiden. Same with Judas Priest. I got to download that and edit out the piece. So here's more information. They aren't as bad as when Cleopatra Records and CMC did all those techno versions of metal songs in the late 90s. Yeah. Cleopatra Records actually is, that's who Angel's working with these days. I just put it up there. Hold on. I'll show you. I will show you. Hold on. Stick with me. Hold on. I got 3 records, actually. I think this one is on there, too. If I'm not mistaken. No, that's Deco. Just the new one, I think it is, maybe. Nope. Cleopatra. Yep. So here's the latest stuff from the Angel guys. I mean, this is not so new anymore. Fallen Angel by Punky Meadows. Got the guys to all sign it. But then on Cleopatra Records, though, is Risen. There you go. Got that one signed. And the brand new one, which is Once Upon a Time. It's pretty cool artwork. Always loved the story of the logo, how the logo came about. It's an ambigram. If you were wondering what they call that, it's called an ambigram. Looks the same. So the story is, they were backstage. They were hanging out at the show. Their manager shows up with another logo. People had been making logos. Fans had been making logos before. And he brought this back, and they go, oh, yeah, that's cool. And he goes, wait. And he goes, oh. And they're like, whoa, that's kind of cool. So then, boom, that became their logo, which didn't appear until their 3rd record, right? Kansas was an interesting one because Peter Lloyd did their Song for America album, and that's where that appeared, which was their 2nd record. But then they did Mask and didn't use the logo. And then the next record, Left Overture, used it. So it was kind of interesting. And then it stuck the rest of the way. So that was kind of cool. Ozzy working on another. I know, right? He got done with his surgery. He was like he was like not looking forward to this surgery. Not like anybody does. I mean, I've got a friend of mine who's looking at surgery too, but they said he's doing fine. So, I mean, let's just see what we can find on that real quick um because I was just checking that out. Ozzy Osbourne undergoes final surgery. I can't do it anymore, he says. Regardless of the way it ends up, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. Ozzy Osbourne has undergone what he says will be his final neck surgery because he does all that headbanging, right? Hey, Punky, leave it alone. I got a cat. He likes to mess with plastic. So on Monday, September 19th, Ozzy Osbourne shared an update through the second episode of the recently revived The Osbournes podcast featuring Sharon, Jack, and Kelly Osbourne. While it's unclear when the episode was filmed, Ozzy revealed... Okay, give me just a second. What a pain in the butt. Let's see. While it's unclear when the episode is filmed, Ozzy revealed, tomorrow I have my final surgery on my neck. He went on to explain, which is going to be the final surgery because I can't do it anymore. Regardless of the way it ends up after tomorrow, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. When asked how he was feeling about the operation, Ozzy said, it's all right. It's just like going over for a fucking haircut now. But I have improved somewhat, I think. Watch Ozzy Osbourne talk about his final neck surgery in the clip below. And they have a cat screaming. So he says, my feet feel like I've got bricks tied to them when I'm walking. I walked upstairs today and downstairs for the first time in a while, and my feet feel like I've got diving boots on when I'm walking. I think it's the nerves. I was thinking maybe I just need to get up off my ass and walk around the block a few times. The surgery comes after the iconic metal soloist and former Black Sabbath frontman suffered a fall in 2019, which dislodged metal rods that were put into his body after a quad bike crash in 2003. Interesting. We just talked about 2003 with Robert Palmer. Osbourne was also diagnosed with Parkinson's in early 2020, of course. Yeah. All right. But he had it done. So this is like an article thing prior to. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can find out for you here real quick. Let's see what Loudwire has to say. Whoop. Let's spell it right. It's hard to type when you've got a mic in your way. All right. Oh, look at that. Dokken responds to vocal criticism with honesty. Should we get back to that in a second? Springsteen is postponing all 2023 tour dates, and he shares an update. They have a ranking on Metallica songs. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything about Ozzy here. I think I saw something about it earlier, though. Maybe later. Let's do Ozzy. See what it brings up. Zakk Wylde on Black Label Society's 25th anniversary. Wow, look at that. Ozzy Osbourne wants to do one more album. All right, let's take a look at that. In a new update, let's see, when did this happen? Well, this is yesterday. Ozzy Osbourne has one thing he wants to do before he gets back out on the road to play more concerts, record a whole new album. Good Lord. In a new update, the rocker revealed he just underwent successful spinal surgery and that he's hoping to make a new solo album in 2024. Not to mention his hopes for subsequent live return, thwarted several times in recent years by his health. Are you ready to see Ozzy back out on tour? So you can read about that. I've had all the surgery now, thank God, Osborne tells Metal Hammer yesterday. I'm feeling okay. It was just dragging on. I'll be back on my feet. Months ago, I just couldn't get used to this mode of living, constantly having something wrong. He can't walk properly yet, he adds, but is thankful, not in any pain anymore, and the surgery on my spine went great. Okay, so there you go. Did anybody hear Patient 9? Patient number 9. I did listen to that album. Thought it was okay. That had some good stuff on it. I didn't know if, I was in love with it. I catch open chat on Go Game Go on the replay of Fun Show. Thank you. Yeah, tonight's Star Trek movie night. So it should be really, really cool. We'll be talking about those. He'll record the album and be done. Yeah, you think so? Doc in Heaven Comes Down will be my last album. Yeah. Yeah. Should we get back to seeing what he says about that? I don't know. I'm kind of critical of that situation. Blake, you know that. I'm just kind of, concerned as to how it sounds. It's not what it was. I know that, and that's okay. I mean, he's doing what he's doing. Singer Don Dokken has responded to criticism of his voice in a frank and completely honest way, concluding basically that if you don't like it, you don't have to show up. I met up with Don Dokken years ago. I'll tell you about that. It was a great experience. It was good. In advance of the October 27th release of the band's new album, Heaven Comes Down, the 70 years old, Dokken spoke with Laughing Money Music about a wide range of topics, including misconceptions about songwriting credits on classic albums, drug abuse, Metallica, and changes in his voice, in addition to new music. Now, there's something, too, that I don't know if everybody knows about, but over on my wall over there, and I'll share this with you guys later on, over on my wall over there, I have a copy of the Scorpions album, Blackout, autographed by all the members. And then I took it with me to Las Vegas when I met up with Don Dokken, because he did what? That was when Klaus Meine had his throat surgery and had his vocal cords scraped. So it was kind of a dicey situation. And Don Dokken went in and laid down all the vocal guide tracks to the album. I haven't listened to that yet. I'm still on a minute. Yeah. I think you'll probably like it. I think you'll like it, Blake. So yeah, he laid down the groundwork for that album, and I thought that was really, really cool. So below, the singer opens up about the state of his voice today. Don Dokken responds to criticism about his voice. Age has a different impact on all singers, and more often than not, they have difficulties replicating what they did in their youth. Now, working with a different and typically limited range. To maintain top performance ability 4 or more decades into a career is an exception, not the rule. Many bands will mask deficiencies by backing tracks and other technological enhancements. Dokken, however, do not rely on backing tracks. And to aid him on stage, bassist Chris McCarville contributes backing vocals, which is especially useful for the higher notes, which is what Jeff Pilson would do as well. I've had a lot of complaints. I see fans when I go, the kiss of, in the song Kiss of Death. And I hit this B flat above A, this super soprano note, and I wouldn't hit it. And you see people go, well, hey, you didn't hit the note. I'm like, dude, I've done like 3,000 concerts. It's like a motor car. It's getting worn out, he tells Laughing Monkey Music. When you're in your 20s, I don't know if we're going to have another record or another hit or anything. I don't know. So here I am just singing up in the high register Dokken continues, noting he wasn't thinking about the likelihood that he'd still be performing these songs live 40 or so years later. I was trying to copy Judas Priest, Rob Halford, or all those bands, and Scorpions singer Klaus Meine, boom, Meine, who were singing so high. But you go on the road for a year and a half and do 400 shows and 5 albums, and then you start, he trails off, likening it to the vocal demands of doing press, adding, my voice is husky today, just from talking to everybody. And that's just the way it is. You get older. I'm 70, man. When it comes to those who say he needs to give it up because he can't hit those high notes, Dokken slyly pivots. Let's see you hit those high notes, 24-year-old. Go ahead. Go for it. If I can't sing the way they remember me, then just don't come to the show. I've got no problem with that, he later concluded on the matter. Watch the full interview below. So there is a link down below. So you know what? I wonder. Let me see if I can grab that. Copy the link. Copy image. No. Okay, I don't know. I think I have to go to it. So anyway, it's called episode 419. Don Dokken on his vocal changes, new album, band, drug abuse, and future of Dokken. I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it. You know, I know he's been doing it for years, and I don't down him for it. I applaud him because why? Because he's doing it the way you should. Don's got he's got a good voice. He still sings well. He's not going to hit all these notes, and I get that. But I did think it was kind of weird when I saw it at first, and I saw him on the road, and he was doing the lower octave stuff. And that's one thing. But you know what? It's still one thing, and he's still out there working it. And if you don't like it, don't go. I had an opportunity to go see Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel recently. My wife went to go, and I did not go because I'm there's just so many other bands that need to start being able to tour. We as the music community, even more so the rock community in that way, we need to start embracing these other bands and being able to help them come over from Europe. Because there's a lot of great bands here in the States still that are that are making their way through. And then there's a lot of bands over in Europe that are killing it. Like I talked about Primal Fear, right? Primal Fear have been around for a couple of decades. And they're killing it. Their brand new album is just as good as everything else. So these bands, Thunder Mother needs to be out there. Scorpions, thank God, took them out on tour. That's brilliant of them. But what's with these double frickin' bills of old men? Don't be afraid to get your ass kicked. Your name is out there. Your name kicks ass. Def Leppard kicks ass, right? Take somebody else out like the Scorpions did. You know, Scorpions took out Thunder Mother. I so applauded that as soon as I saw it because I was like, whoa, I love Thunder Mother. Just got into them, digging it all. And Scorpions took them on tour. Do that. Quit buddying up with everybody and trying to make all this money with a couple of bands that when people leave, they're like, I had family members that went and saw one of these latest tours with classic bands. Some were good, and some they were like, ugh, I wish they would just stop. So, you know, what can you say? I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Even Dokken, even if Rudolf Schenker asked me to join Scorpions, I would have said no. I had and still don't have any desire to join them. Yeah, I mean, he can't do it now. I mean, well, and Klaus is doing such a great job still. He's, you know, he's doing that. That quote was when he was talking about Blackout. Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, that was a dicey time. We didn't know what was going to happen, right? If you haven't heard Love Drive yet, go back to the Scorpions stuff and listen to Love Drive. It's fantastic. It's a great record. And then the next record was, and that Animal Magnetism, that was, I'll get into that later, but Animal Magnetism, and then they put out Blackout, which was freaking completely kick-ass. That album was great. And I thought it was great when I went to go see them live back for that tour. Someday I'll wear my Blackout t-shirt still. I still have that. But when they did that, it was great. At the end of the show, they played When the Smoke is Coming Down as we walked out of the auditorium. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was a great night of music. Saw Girls School open up the whole show, Iron Maiden on the Number of the Beast tour, and then Scorpions for Blackout. It was what a great, wonderful show. Also, I have photos. I'll take you through a trip of all of my t-shirts that I still have that I got over the years. I should let you get going. Before we get going, let me tip this baby. The Many Faces of Those Are Coming. Go Game Go is on tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to be talking Star Trek movies. And what did I do with my stack? Did I move it around behind me, I guess? I loved this. This is fun. Trekkies. I bet you never even kissed a girl. That's hilarious. For the Love of Spock. If you've never seen it, check that out. It is fantastic. And let me know what you thought about these Star Trek movies. The newer ones it started off really good, but I don't know. I kind of thought that Into Darkness was a little long, but that original one I thought was pretty good. I'm a Carl Urban fan who ended up playing Dredd, and he was in Red. And how about that? Dread and Red. But I need to rewatch this one and see what I think. But yeah, we're going to be talking about those the movies tonight. So join us if you have the time. Otherwise, like and subscribe here to Go Game Go. Be sure to join us every week. I'm going to be here every week. So 3:30 every Wednesday. And something, let me drop this in here. I'll start remembering to put all my links down below. This is all still new to me as I'm doing this, trying to keep everything included. So we're growing, and we got some great stuff coming. So be sure and take care of yourselves. Remember, when you walk out of your house, you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. Next week or during this week between shows, be ready. I got a major lesson to be learned for the road. All right. Speaking of road, check that out by Alice Cooper. I just checked it out yesterday. I'm thinking about buying it. $20 for a CD and a DVD. So it's on my list. That one, and also maybe doing a pre-purchase on that new Dolly Parton album that's coming out, Rockstar. It doesn't come out till November. Isn't that crazy? I couldn't believe that it wasn't out yet. Thought it was going to be out. But anyway, take care, guys. Thank you so much, Crimson Cross. It's great to see you out here again. JW, thank you. PJ, thank you. Blake, thank you as always. And it was great talking with you guys. Look forward to some more. And I'll go take care of my Iron Maiden. All right, take care, guys. Yep. This thing here. And okay, boom.